Welcome to the Transformative Principal podcast, where we learn how to be an amazing educational leader. I am your host, Jethro Jones. Are you ready to be a transformative principal? I'm looking for about 10 people who are ready to do what it takes to lead with integrity, find balance, and take your school to the next level. If you're looking to improve your leadership in a measurable way, go to transformativeprincipal.org/mastermind to see if you qualify to join a group of like-minded people who are ready to be the best principals in the country. Welcome to Transformative Principal. This morning we are talking to Jonathon Wennstrom from Michigan, who is going to talk about his school-wide meetings that he does every week. He's just in the beginning stages, but it's an exciting idea and something that I think could help. He's going to talk about how that ties into character education and the powerful things that they are doing. I would also like to invite you to be part of the mastermind for administrators. If you are an aspiring administrator and want to be part of that there's an option for you as well. Go to transformativeprincipal.org/mastermind and schedule a call to see if you qualify for that. With summer coming up, we principals have a unique opportunity to get a lot of work done with no students and few teachers. If you want to learn a goal-setting program that makes your goals come to life, go to transformativeprincipal.org and sign up for the email newsletter and get my goal-setting framework that helps me accomplish a lot in a little bit of time. Welcome to Transformative Principal. I am very excited to have Jonathon Wennstrom on the podcast today. He is a 21-year education veteran and has been principal in 3 schools now. And right now he's in Livonia, Michigan at a pre-K through 4th grade. And we're going to talk about a lot of great things today. So I hope you enjoy it. And we look forward to having you learn from Jonathon. Jonathon, please start by telling us anything that I missed in that introduction of you, anything you want everybody to know.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you, Jethro, for inviting me. I'm honored to be here. I do want to share out that any good ideas that I share, I have borrowed. I've learned along the way. I've had some great mentors. I've had some great peers that I've worked with and connected with. So most of the ideas that I implement in my school, many aren't original. Many are ideas that I've borrowed from other great educators.
Yeah, and appreciate you saying that. And the reality is that you are here because you're actually doing the things, and that is important. Action is important, and I appreciate you recognizing others' hands in your action, but we're excited to talk to you about some of the things you're doing. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about was the school-wide meetings that you're doing. Can you talk a little bit about where you are in that process and what that looks like for your school?
Sure. Well, we are a PBIS school, so we've been working with PBIS for the last 6 or 7 years. So we have a lot of things already implemented. One of the things that I've been doing for the last, I'd say 4, maybe 5 years, are monthly Student of the Month meetings where we focus on a different character trait. In the last 2 years, those have been Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. So we've been doing a lot of research and work with the 7 Habits as well and blending that with our PBIS. So we've had a monthly assembly format, school-wide, where we get together, we talk about what we want to do in our school, how we behave. We have what we call our 3 to Be pledge, where we pledge to be respectful, responsible, and safe. We also focus on that habit each month. Along with those monthly meetings, we have poster contests where students can submit their interpretation of what that habit or character trait is. I also invite parents in for the monthly assemblies, and we average 90 to 95% attendance rates for the parents of those students being recognized each month. So it's been a nice way to incorporate not only the character themes that we're working on and building a school community, but also inviting the parents in as well. Right now, we are in the process of expanding that to a weekly meeting. Again, I borrowed the idea from a friend who was doing what she called sunrise and sunset meetings at the beginning of each week and at the end of each week. I brought that to my staff the last month at our last PBS meeting, and there was a lot of excitement around that idea. So beginning the next week, when we come back from spring break on April 4th, we will begin a weekly, in addition to our monthly assemblies, a time for us to build community. And I'm looking at this very similar to what many teachers are already doing as morning classroom meetings, and doing a morning school-wide meeting. And a nod to Sean Gallard, we're calling these meetings Celebrate Monday meetings. Short, 20 minutes, where we will do our student-led announcements that we do every day in the gym. We will be doing that in our morning meeting, where we say our Pledge of Allegiance. We also have our 3 to Be pledge, and we will be showing a short video clip of an inspirational video. I often share out a quote of the week, something that ties in with our character theme. And in addition to those things, in our setting all together in the gym, we're going to be talking about ways that we can make it a good week, and the ways that we can celebrate Monday and show respect and honor one another as a community, as a school.
That's great, man. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and let's talk about some of the parts of that. One of the complaints that I would think you would get from teachers or others is that having a weekly meeting seems like it would take away time from instruction. What's your response to that?
I'll be honest, I had that same concern when we first talked about this. But as we brainstormed as a staff and as a team, we felt that the time spent as a group and building that community each week would actually decrease behaviors that might interrupt the learning process later on. The teachers who have been using the classroom morning meetings have found that 20, 25 minutes each day or each week really has actually increased the time on task for students. So our goal is to do this at a school-wide level, so that a little time up front will help save time later on throughout the week with time on task. I'll be honest, this also wouldn't happen without support. I have support staff who are helping the kindergarten students get ready, because it's difficult to get 5 and 6-year-olds down to the gym 5 minutes after they've come in from the bus. So this is going to be a team effort of making sure that everyone gets down. Plus, we've moved our morning announcements to the gym for those days, because that's normally time that we do announcements in the classroom over our public announcement system. And so now that will take place in the gym. Again, we thought that having the face-to-face and more intimate setting for our announcements will be a good thing as well too, but it's also saving us time.
Yeah, I think that that's a pretty response to that. Those of us who do PBIS and things like CHAMPS and other trauma-informed practices, things like that, recognize the value in getting the preventative stuff in place. And it sounds like that's the purpose of this, is to have some preventative measures to help students make better choices. Talk a little bit about the videos that you show as part of your meetings.
Well, it's a combination. We do have some student-created videos that we use, that I usually show at the monthly themes, at the monthly Student of the Month assemblies, where students are acting out or talking about ways that they can demonstrate a particular habit or character trait. But also, I've just collected over time just a collection of short inspirational videos. Often I will share out with my weekly blog with my staff some little clips. I try to keep all videos 3 minutes or less. And so over the past 2 years of collecting those for the staff and sharing them out at staff meetings and in blogs, I want to tap into that group, and I think the students would also benefit from many of those inspirational videos. And they range on a variety of topics, from perseverance to honesty to just making a difference in the world and doing our best and being kind.
How wonderful. That sounds like a great collection of videos. Do you have that in a format where you could share that?
You know what? Not in a compiled format. In my weekly blog, I try to put an inspirational short clip video each week or almost every week. And my blog is located on sparkoflearning.blogspot.com.
Okay, I'll make sure we put a link to that in the show notes so that people can go through and find some of those. I know for a lot of principals, there's just time and energy where you need to find those things. And we like to, as you mentioned at the beginning, ride on the coattails of others and stand on the shoulders of giants and use the things that they've already done. So we'll make sure we have a link to that so people can go check that out and see some of those. I imagine for that age group, you're using some of the Kid President videos.
Absolutely. Love Kid President. And gosh, I'll be honest, many times it may be from a conference I've attended where they'll show a short inspirational video clip. It may be from a peer who has forwarded on a video. I try to collect from everywhere I can. And again, most of those can be found in my weekly blog. And like I said, over the past 2 years, there's gotten to be quite a collection of videos.
Cool. I really like that. Thanks for sharing that. I'd like to take a moment here to talk about how people can support the podcast. If you go to transformativeprincipal.org and over on the right, there's a little button that says become a patron. You can become a patron. And for anybody who donates $1 or more per month, you can become a patron and get a copy of my book, The Paperless Principal, for free. And anybody who donates $5 or more per month can get the members only Transformative Principal podcast feed, which gives you the interviews as I listen to them or as I create them rather than as I release them. I release them every week and you can get them a little bit early. So if you would like to do that, please go to my website, transformativeprincipal.org, and click on Become a Patron or go to patreon.com/Jethro Jones. Thanks so much. So, Jonathon, one of the things that you mentioned was talking about Stephen Covey's 7 Habits as part of your Student of the Month. Can you talk a little bit more about that program and what that does for your staff and students?
Absolutely. Well, about 2 years ago, our staff, we try to read a book every year as a group. And about 2 years ago, we all read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. I went through pretty in-depth training, a 5-day training with several other principals, and we really were determined to integrate it into everything we're doing in school already through PBIS. So after the staff read the book, we all purchased classroom books, 7 Habits for Kids, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Kids. And in those books, there's a lot of activities and social stories that can be shared out with the students. And a lot of our teachers are using those in their morning meetings and tying in our 7 habits. Another thing we've done is I do a weekly parent blog as well. And in that blog, often I will share out what theme or habit we're working on for the month. Sometimes give out some resources to parents as well, possibly a video clip. And our poster contest now for the 7 habits has been a big way to involve students even more. Of they can work with partners, they can work individually, of designing a poster to put into an image of what that habit means for them. So the winning poster, which is something neat, we're tying in our art teacher has agreed to meet with those students each month and on a larger canvas, actually working with them of transferring their poster onto a canvas to be displayed into the school. We're currently on our 3rd round of doing that, and it's been a big hit with the students and also something that's tied in with beyond the classroom teacher and also something that can be displayed throughout our whole school.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really been kind of a neat branching out of the 7 habits. That's something we started this year, but we've been working with the 7 habits for about 2 years. One other big thing for me, and I think for our school, has been including parents. We know that students perform better when there's a partnership between home and school. So one of the things we've tried to do is involve parents in a couple different ways. One, I've been to positive phone calls on a daily basis. Now that doesn't always happen, but I sure try for it. That every day that there's some type of parent positive contact where I call and share out something great that a child has done. As I said before, when we do our monthly assemblies, those parents of those students are invited, and it amazes me that people will take time off of work. They'll bring in grandparents and so forth for a 25-minute assembly. And I always mention the profound impact that has for our students and the message it sends that what's happening at school is important. Another way we've included parents is through the Class Dojo process. All of our teachers are currently using Class Dojo. And something new that I learned this year of a feature that's a classroom wall, very similar to the Facebook format, where teachers can post up pictures of what the students are doing. And we've noticed that we've had an increased parent response to that feature. We have a very high English language learner population in my school. We're about 24%. And it's a variety of languages, not one language. I think we have 15 languages represented in my school. So for our parents, seeing those pictures of what's going on and maybe making a short comment has really been powerful of connecting what's going on in the classroom or our habit or theme for the month with the parents and getting them involved as well. And finally, we are just in the process right now. We partnered with another school and are using some of our funds from our preschool program, our Great Start Readiness Program, as well as some Title I funds to sponsor a parent program for Love and Logic. It's a program that I've attended, I've gone through, and I think will be very beneficial to our parents. And it's just another way through 3 evening course that we can involve our parents and bring them in. And all of those things together really make things successful for our students.
Man, there's definitely a lot going on there. Let's talk a little bit about the positive phone calls on a daily basis. How do you make sure that that happens? And I know you said you're not perfect, so I'm not expecting perfection here, but how do you make sure that that happens? And how do you keep track of doing that? I know a lot of principals who have wanted to do that and have started doing that. And then I've heard some stories of principals who have called the same kid 3 weeks in a row because they weren't keeping track. So what are some of your strategies for dealing with all that?
Well, it started off with making those positive phone calls for the Student of the Month assembly. So every month I was already making 16 phone calls. And so I thought, why not just expand that out and make another 16 phone calls and have one for each day? And so what I started doing, and actually it started in New Year's, I took the 66-day challenge. Another administrator had shared that with me, as talking about making positive habits and that it takes 16 or 66 days to do that. And she actually gave me a little calendar with 66 days where whatever it may be, whatever habit you're trying to do in the schools, that you would keep track of. So I actually took that calendar, photocopied it, gave it to all of my staff and said, hey, if there's something you want to try, here's your challenge sheet. Well, for me, that challenge was contacting students, parents on a daily basis. So I actually took that calendar and started writing in names of students as I called them. So for me, it was an easier way of keeping track of who I had called and also having that reminder sheet in front of me. Now, all of that being said, I will be honest, there will be days where I have not made that positive phone call. And sometimes I'll try to make 3 in one day to make up for those. But it's certainly been my goal and something I've been striving toward this year.
Yeah, and that is so important to have some way to pay attention to that and know what's going on. We've tried Google Docs and doing a little survey form that you fill out and using a FileMaker Pro database and a bunch of different things. And before you get all mired down in that stuff, it's just important to make sure that you are reaching out and making those phone calls. And, that can have a really positive impact. What are some of your favorite stories from doing those positive phone calls home?
Well, I get a chuckle because many times when I call, there's a sense of panic from the parent when they first hear my voice and I say, this is John Wennstrom. I'm calling from our school. And there's always that moment of, okay, what did my child do? Because many times I try to make these positive phone calls to students who may not always get that positive feedback. And so I'm trying to make those deposits, as we say, so that if there is a situation where I have to talk about a tough scenario, I already have that relationship established with the parent. So I always get a chuckle out of that, of the, oh, what happened? And then, sharing out that good news and hearing the joy and the happiness in parents. And so I'd say that's my biggest thing, of just hearing the joy in the parent's voice. And also a sense of pride. Again, for some of these students who are getting these positive phone calls, they may not get a lot of that positive feedback because they may not be the best academic student, or maybe they're not the student of the month, but they're trying, and maybe they demonstrated a character trait that we're talking about. Maybe they just simply helped another student. So they can be for everyday things and just helping out, being a kind student. They can be for something big, like starting up a project that we have a Youth Making a Difference program. So there's a wide spectrum of things that students may get a phone call from.
Well, that's really cool. And it sounds like there's a cascade of different opportunities that are available for kids to have positive interactions with the school. And I think that is so vital for our students to be able to have that happen. That was a great interview with John Wennstrom, and I hope you take some of that and apply it to your life. Please, if you will, share this podcast with those that you work with and those that want to be transformative principals like you are. Because you're listening to this, you are striving to be a transformative principal also. Next week, we're going to continue the conversation with him, and he's going to talk about PBIS and the things that are going on at John's school, and how to build the fundamental skills of collaboration, perseverance, grit, and things that will serve them in any job or anywhere that they are. So, great conversation coming up next week. Thanks so much for listening to Transformative Principal. Transformative Principal is a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators by educators. Visit edupodcastnetwork.com for more great podcasts.